Good morning, folks. Thought I'd get on here for a few minutes this morning and sort of bring some information that may be relevant to you or that you might not know. I've found that as I try to make decisions, I engage with folks and try to gain other insights. And sometimes but I don't know something because I don't know, because I've never been told. So I hope that provide some perspective on some of the things that may be going on within the county, and even a discussion of some things a little bit larger than the county. And maybe it will help you to have perspective, or at least begin the process of discussion. And we're in the process right now with our county of doing our budget workshops. We spent about 5 hours on Thursday beginning to develop the budget for the upcoming year, which has to be in place on July 1st by law. We cannot defer that like the county, like the state and federal governments can. So we have to begin to work on that and have a balanced budget in place. So we're working on that. And right now we would have been in pretty good shape moving to next year were it not for about a 24% increase in our health insurance rates for the next year. And we're having to figure out how to manipulate and work with that. But that is part of the process, and that led me to thinking about a greater discussion that we're having right now about property taxes and services and all the things that are a part of this whole discussion. Across the state, there's a lot of meetings and with the legislature about limits on levy and all of those things, and I understand the concerns that people have, but I think it's important to have a discussion at a larger level, not just the dollars that you may pay and it may be spent, but about local control versus state control and how services are provided. We hear a lot, people come and ask for particular things. We have people want more recreational facilities and or services for those in need, or many other things that are provided. And all those things are valid and need to be addressed, but they also don't occur without some expenditure. So there has to be an income stream to provide that. So if we talk about property taxes, is some talk about the abolishment of them altogether. And I've heard folks say, well, if I don't use the service, what good do I have of it? Why should I be supporting schools when I have no children in schools? Why should I be supporting senior center when I do not take advantage of the services? Why do we have to have social services when I have no families involved in that, and on and on and on. And I understand that concern, but it's also, I think, a little disingenuous to expect those to be there only when you need them. If we go to the hospital and you're the first time you've been to the hospital in 5 years, it's kind of unrealistic to think that everything is going to be there for you. Every supply, every person, every test, everything is going to be there, and you've not used it. So you say, well, I shouldn't be having to pay unless I use it. Well, someone has to prepare all that. Those things have to move forward. Just like this year, a new ambulance that we're looking at for next year is $291,000. And you may never need an ambulance, but when you do need one, you want one that works and that will get there and with trained people on them. So you have to look at things in a little different perspective, I think. Yes, you may not have kids in the school system, but you were supported by someone providing for public education. And I hope that we would think we had an investment in the next generation in order to do that. And we have a lot of folks say, well, you just need to trim back services. And I would love to engage in the conversation, say, which of those services do you think need to be trimmed and how? To what extent? One of the things that I would like to do, and I'm going to start this month coming up in May, is have some monthly meetings around the county to talk with folks. I'm going to try to be this coming Wednesday at Mountain Grounds Coffee Shop there in Tynecastle, or Invershield for those of us who grew up here. in the Tynecastle intersection from 9 to 11 on Wednesday morning, with just sitting at a table and asking for conversation or questions. Try to engage, try to learn what the thought process is. And I hope to do this across the county a few times a month, just to allow people to ask questions, because there's validity to your concerns, and I may not have all the answers, or as I have found a lot of times, I may have an answer, but it's not the answer that you like, but it doesn't change the fact that it's the answer that I have. So I hope to be able to do that. And a lot of folks have mentioned about having more income from the resort areas and that type of thing. And that right there, the way the law is right now, that's illegal. We do not have, you have a uniformity of taxation. We cannot have differing rates based on where you live. And the revaluation that may be coming up next year, and may not, depending on what the General Assembly says, is going to have an impact. And we tried very hard to keep the dollar amounts equal year to year. But even in that, what I am very much grew up in this area and was taught that personal property is a very precious thing. And I am reluctant to move towards the reallocation of value or income or anything else just arbitrarily. I had just heard a discussion this morning, someone saying that taxation should be not based on income, but on wealth. Well, if that's the case, then if you have developed over the years, you've worked hard, you've got a 401k or maybe a pension, or you've got a home that you paid for, and you have built wealth, and that amount of wealth is relative from person to person. What's a lot to one person is not a lot to someone else. But you have developed that. Should that wealth that you've accumulated be subject to taxation? And you say, well, my property is that same thing. It goes up in value. Why should I be taxed on that? And that is part of the way in which we engage as society. Consumption taxes will not ever, I don't think, meet the need that we have. Sales tax of 20%, for instance, would be needed, and then that would only be developed as purchases are made. We would not have any sense of a steady income stream to plan on. It would be totally relative on what people might be a part of spending, and it would also impact the lower income folks at a disproportionate amount, because if you go to the store and buy something and you're making $500,000 a year, you pay the same rate of taxation on that same good that you bought as someone making $20,000 a year. Now, what you buy might be different, but the way it affects us is disproportionate in terms of our ability to absorb that and to process that. So it's a lot of complexity to this issue. And as we develop the budget, as we move forward, a lot of folks, I've heard a discussion around the state, as almost every county is having this discussion with their school board and with their county finances about the issues that come about with developing a budget and what we're going to do as the county, and growth and controlling growth. And a lot of folks say, well, anytime there's an increase, they're just lining their pockets. And I can only speak for me, but I have yet to figure out how that is a benefit to me. A lot of people say, well, that's the way things are. And I would be happy to listen. If you have specific examples or know of anything, I would process that. I would move forward. I would try to find out. But an anecdotal incident of, my mother's brother's first cousin's son said that he saw is not evidence. And so I would love to engage in that and find out exactly what are we speaking about here. And it's not a normal in the world that I live in. Maybe it's a normal for the world that the business that you engage in, and that's how things are done. But it's certainly not the normal here, at least that I'm aware of. and I can only speak to my experiences in my situation. But as we move forward as the county, as we try to build back from Helene, as we are engaging with FEMA and with emergency management and other agencies to rebuild our senior center and our Little League fields, and we're looking to make a complex of recreation that is greater than what we had before, and that's certainly the hope and the plan, and it's how we're drawing it up right now. Redoing and moving our administration building and EMS base and communications, and having a greater impact, trying to leverage every dollar from every source that does not include taxation of the local residents. And we were desperately moving in that direction and seeking behind every door, and asking for every grant, every appropriation, every possibility, and we're making some progress on that. And I hope that will come to fruition. But as the county does continue to move forward, I encourage you to engage in discussion. Don't sort of live within your own world and what you think might be true and what might be real. And because I know if I remain in my own self, I tend to go off in avenues that may or may not be real and have to be sort of jerked back into reality sometimes. So I encourage a discussion. I would love to engage with you as we go around and have these little times of coffee and conversation. I would hope that there's a sense of trust in the local government, if nothing else. And I'm as much of a small government person as the next guy, but I have learned in this process that there's a certain amount of economic reality that has to come to pass, and we're trying to meet that, and we're cutting every possibility in order to meet our income thresholds and utilize every resource that we can. So I hope that you're having a good day, and I hope to engage with you soon.